By the way, Dustin Nielson not here. Reid in for Dustin today. This is where I sit for the show from 3 to 6, but Gager sits here from the show for 1 to 3, and I said, I should have just let you have this spot, Gager. But
And then I said, I think I can handle that much movement. Then Reid kind of gave me this.
yeah,
I remember.
I was a bit
so
doubtful.
good left to right.
I was a bit doubtful.
Right to left, it would have been fine.
This is about this might be a little wider than a net even.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But the equipment was smaller. So.
That's true. You didn't have you never played with the giant shoulder pads. Was it Garth Snow?
Yeah. No, I did in Europe.
Okay,
kinda,
after,
yeah.
okay.
But not even, it took me a while. I had Jack Campbell disease there for I liked the feel of the other ones. Like they just seemed closer to my body. I liked that feeling more. And then I didn't switch till I went to Sweden. And we were every team in Sweden was sponsored by a particular set of gear. Like it was Jofa and CCM. So I had to change my upper body stuff. Because it didn't make sense to me because it's under the jersey anyway.
Right.
But I needed new stuff. So I tried it out, and lo and behold, it did make you a little bit bigger.
So was it, when you first put on larger gear, is it, I mean, I guess you think, well, I might stop more pucks, but does it take time to think, okay, I don't have to do this, it'll just hit something that I don't feel the same way?
Yeah, it just felt, it would be like having a really good baseball glove and then having to go put a brand new one on that's still, like, it just was stiff. It didn't move the proper way, like the way I had it combined with my pants too. Mm-hmm. Where like I always had it tucked, and then I couldn't after that, and so it was a complete mess for the first little bit. But once, like anything, once you kind of get used to it, you see the value in a little bit more size. And I mean, I started using it to my advantage a lot more, where I could block the puck more than trying to make saves.
Was that not a bit of a travesty, though, when we saw NHL goaltenders and the shoulder pads were even with their ears? Like, They did not get too far.
There are so many little things that guys were, I mean, not cheating, not trying, but I played with a guy in Portland with the Pirates one year, and I just talked to another guy from there the other day, too. Funny. But he had these little, like, things on the toes of his skates, these extra little blades, because French guys started moving around on their knees first, kind of, and Finnish guys, kind of. It seemed like they always started, and he had these little things that you could put on there that he could push off with, not just the blade of his sticks or his skate, right? So, and I remember Garth Snow, it was rumored, I don't know for sure, but he had some elaborate kind of engineering contraption that when he went down, his body protector actually pushed up. So, and he had the flaps, like they were right beside his ears. So he went down, all of a sudden everything beside his head just got covered up too. So there was multiple things like that. And they started cracking down, like seemed like only French Canadian goalies had this little extra thing on their toe of their skate. And then regulations came in, and they took them all out.
It was like an Iron Man costume or something like that.
Oh, yeah. It's just crazy.
Speaking of genius billionaires, Matt Kassian ready to check in as well. Hi, Matt.
Hey, guys. Sorry, it took a few minutes. I had to do the old, unplug it, wait 30 seconds, and plug everything back in because it was giving me some grief trying to join. So here I am. I am here. I am here.
I can barely see you. What's going on?
I don't know with that either. That's, again, the whole problem with the internet that I've been dealing with this morning. So,
okay, yeah,
you got the joke.
Right.
For everyone listening, Cass is draped in camo right now.
Oh, never mind. I thought I was like, the screen was like not coming through properly. No. You know what? Still, I know Remembrance Day was yesterday, but for me, still an important day, an important thing. So I figured I'd go with the camo with the Soldier On hat, which is a charity in Alberta that helps soldiers. The Oilers alumni does a whole bunch of stuff with them and some fantasy camps and things. So I figured I'd throw a shout out for there. But yeah, okay. Sorry, I was a little slow, flustered by the internet, Gager. So
Gager and I are used to just sitting with each other and having meandering conversations on air in my usually on air in my previous job. Now that we see each other today more often off air, so that allowed us to get into some goalie equipment stuff. When you played, was there a type of equipment that changed that bothered you or took some getting used to?
For the players? Well, there hasn't been as much for the players. I mean, the big changes for the players, the skate technology was always improving, lighter, stiffer, last a little bit longer for that. But sticks was the kind of the constant thing that was continually changing. And from the time I started till the time my career finished, it changed dramatically. First couple years in junior, that's when one-piece sticks kind of started to come out, but not everyone on your team would get them. You'd still have the old, you have the composite or aluminum shaft, and you stick the blade into there, the wooden blade, and you go through those. And then eventually it became the full one-piece sticks. But those have changed dramatically too, to where, they used to be all like a 100 or a 110 flex, so super, super stiff, but they had to be because of where the kick point in the stick was, where the kick point basically was right at the heel of the blade. And over time and over the course of my career, that kick point, they started being able to manufacture those things. So it got higher and higher and higher, which is where you see players and I know we'll probably talk about Ovi today and his quest to, score 8 million goals. But to where guys like that can use like an 80 or an 85 flex, and they don't have to have their hands so far apart, and they don't have to lean on their stick as much because the kick point is that much higher. So it's more of a, you can be in a position to pass or shoot, just with the type of the way they manufacture the sticks is just improved so dramatically from the time they first really started making those one-piece sticks. That was a big thing. I mean, goalies, it changed too. And Gager, you may have still been around for this. And mine was where they started measuring more. Pads got a little bit smaller, the shoulder pads. They weren't allowed to have the same height that you already talked about Garth Snow and his shoulder pads. But the big thing for me where they started to change goalie equipment was they started to eliminate, we called it the knee cheaters, where because you could wear extra kind of pads over top of your knees, but guys would, they were designed in such a way that when you went into your butterfly, they would kind of stick out and protrude into the 5-hole a little bit, like give you a little bit of extra 5-hole coverage. And they started to crack down on those, to where guys, the cheaters got bigger and bigger and bigger because it wasn't an area that was regulated, until they kind of looked at the equipment and said, hey, this isn't necessary. But Gage, I do want to ask you this, because, and this was just a rumor to me on that, and on the goalie equipment, doctoring. Did you ever, were there any goalies? Because I remember when I was younger, and I had a rumor that it was Patrick Waugh, and I think Ed Belfour too. So I don't know if there's any truth to this, but like we're trying to run either string or elastic from like inside of their trap, like to basically to take away underneath their arm, like to add an elastic down there. Is there any truth to that, or am I just buying into rumors I heard when I was younger?
No, there was rumors. I can't confirm or deny it, but I know that like Patrick Waugh, you could win the America's Cup with his jersey as a sale. Like it was that thing was absolutely huge. And I mean, he'd put his arms out, and you maybe it would block, it would get in there and kind of get caught. And it was almost like a net, like it all came down. When you saw him go down, there was like his armpits. It looked like he had all this armpit hair because it was just dangling there. I didn't know about I think there was strings attached to pads. And like I said, the Garth Snow, his shoulder pads that popped them up when he went down, right? So as soon as they felt the pads go down, they popped up. It was quite remarkable engineering and stuff. I wish I would have thought about something like this. Probably would have got my numbers a little bit better. But no, that and the size of the pants, that was a huge one. Where because you had regulations for the blocker came in, the size of the cheater on the glove. Guys had this. It looked like another blocker on the part of your glove. But guys' pants, like you could have fit 2 guys in most of those things, right? So then they kind of cracked down on that. And I remember the tops of the pads, what Cass is talking about. They protected the top of the knee, but they started to develop them so when you did go down, it closed completely up the 5-hole, right? It would still sting a little bit, but you're like, thank God I got those things because that was going to go in. But now it's just more knee pads, and the pads kind of, when you do go down, it acts as kind of those things anyway now. But no, it's they've taken a lot away from goalies, which I think is good. They're big enough. I think that's
It's because you guys are all cheaters, as you said. So
well, the sticks cheat too.
All right.
taking a lot of things away from goalies. Come on.
Go back to wood.
Yeah, they should go back to wood. I want my old Victoriaville no curve I used to play with as a kid. We are, of course, bringing you Two Guys and a Goalie, presented by GCS Construction, setting the industry standard for 50 years with quality, efficiency, and safety driving their success. GS Construction has a foundation built on teamwork, and now they want you to become part of the team. So visit gsconstruction.ca, click Ready to Work, or visit their page at Indeed.ca with the Next Person Up program at GS Construction. It's not just a job, it's a career. Good equipment tales from...
Can I jump in here for a second on that wooden stick comment? Sorry, guys. Can I show you a little pice of history here that I just got in my house the other day? Can we do that? That okay?
Let's see.
Okay.
Yeah, of course. He's going to get something. Where'd he go?
I'm just surprised.
Going to get something. Okay, so just
surprised you're wearing pants.
My grandfather passed away a couple summers ago, but he won a gold medal with the Penticton Bees in the World Hockey Championships a million years ago. And so we were just going through this stuff, helping my grandma with her house because she was selling her house. And so I got to take some of the stuff home. So I just wanted to show you guys this. We won't be able to get the whole thing in here. But this is, you want to talk about straight blade edged sticks. This is an old Victoriaville that we got that is, all the way back from 8 million years ago. That's a World Hockey Championship stick, which is pretty sweet. So it's got all the signatures on there.
Can you put the blade to the camera again, Cass, just for the people watching on YouTube? Look at that. That's incredible.
That is
Look at
pretty...
that.
That's a good backhand.
Yeah.
yeah. About as flat as you can get. But yeah, so world championship stick right here. Got the, I don't know if you guys know who the Warwicks are, but got the Warwick signatures on there and a couple other old ones. It's pretty cool. So I hadn't had a chance to show that yet since I brought it home, and you said wood stick, and I'm like, oh, I got it right over here. I might as well go grab it and show the people.
That is awesome. That is really cool. All right, so we got a game tonight. Islanders in town to play the Edmonton Oilers. It's a 7:00 game. We will have the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show with Tom and Hernan starting at 6. They'll be after the game for the postgame show as well. A few storylines here, guys. One of the ones, and maybe we'll be talking about this again when we have Two Guys and a Goalie on Thursday. Connor McDavid is approaching 1,000 points. He has 995. It is not out of the realm of possibility that he gets it tonight. You never know. Then the game on Thursday, and then, of course, they're in Toronto on Saturday. I wondered if there'd be any hype for that game if he goes in with 999. I'd love it if he could get it at home one of these next two games. We'll see. I mean, the Oilers finally got some pucks into the net against Vancouver on Saturday. What do you think it's like? And Draisaitl was asked about today, and, of course, he praised McDavid and how he creates offense, but he also said he doesn't want the attention. He knows there is going to be, but he also, Draisaitl said he's more of, okay, let's just get it done. Don't need to celebrate it too much. What do you think it's like for his teammates? I mean, we know what Connor's like, and I know there's always a player you can say is near a milestone or trying to do something, but 1,000 is pretty special, especially how quickly he's done it. What do you think it's like for his teammates now that he's so close?
Well, a lot of faces have changed over the last few years. So I look to the guys that have been there the whole time.
Yep.
And it's just probably miraculous to them. Like a guy like Nuge is seeing this and just going, this is unbelievable that he's already at 1,000 points, right? And like Darnell Nurse, Leon Draisaitl, these guys that have been with the organization. And then you have some older guys like a Perry, things like that, and he's seen guys accomplish this feat before, and the fact that it's being done in a timely manner, so to speak, is probably pretty impressive. I I like that it's getting. I hope it either gets done tonight or Saturday. This
Okay.
5 tonight, it would be cool. But Thursday, not a big meeting. But going back home, he's probably his visa will be burning with the amount of family members he's probably going to have at that game. And to do it back in Toronto would be pretty cool.
His visa's not burning. Let's be clear. He's fine. But
right. You don't think he's got a limit on that?
But probably not. Probably not. But I would say it's the type of thing where it's like feed the guy the rock, right? Not that you need to really with Connor McDavid. He has it so much on his stick anyways. But it's kind of again, to throw to the Ovi conversation that we will get into at some point. It's like guys are going to be looking for it. Like you want him to hit that milestone. You want him to get it. Your teammates want him to get it. And so it's like, yeah, line mates are going to be looking for an opportunity if McDavid hasn't touched the puck to get him the puck. And you kind of hope he just gets there so you can get across it. And then it's not, something that's in the back of everybody's mind. And I don't think Connor McDavid's worried about it at all. Not that anyone else is, but they're like, yeah, let's get this for him. Let's get this for him. Let's get this for him. And it kind of, not that it becomes, something that guys are over focused on or takes away too much from just winning a hockey game, but you don't want it to be just another thing you have to think about. So I hope he gets it and gets it right away. So it's just done and over and finished with. But it would be kind of cool to see him at $9.99 going into Toronto. I mean, that'd be fun, guys, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. The Hockey Night in Canada game for sure in Toronto. I mean, I guess I may be a little more sentimental about it. I'd love to see him to get it in front of the home fans.
Yeah.
And I remember when he hit 500 during the season with no fans.
Oh,
and and they still put it up on the scoreboard, Connor McDavid 500 points, and I took a picture of it and tweeted it out, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, thanks, Reid. Like nobody could be there. At least we get to see what's on the scoreboard." I would love it. Look, I'm a little different, right? Because I didn't play like you guys, and I'm up there, 8 stories above the ice in my little perch, watching all the games and seeing everything. And then with all my interaction with fans over the years, I would love it if he gets 2 tonight. He gets 2 in the first 58 minutes on Thursday, and they're beating Nashville 4-2, so they're probably going to win. And he goes out with an empty net with 2 minutes left. I would love to see that. And then if it's him and Draisaitl on a 2-on-0, which one gets the goal and which one gets the, do you want the 1,000 point to be a goal or an assist? I would just love to see it. I get the whole Toronto angle, and I'm sure, Rogers and Hockey Night in Canada are hoping for that. And, we have Cuth on our shows. Like I'm sure Cuth would love to call it, but I'd love to see it in Rogers Place just to get that. I think the fan reaction would be awesome. Just like
that would be pretty fun.
Yeah.
That would be pretty fun.
Way.
So I mean, the only point I would disagree with you on that, and if it happens at home, is I wouldn't want it to be an empty netter. I don't want the game to go to overtime. I don't want to give Nashville a point, but how cool would it to be, in overtime for him? Game tied going into OT, and he's at $9.99. And he gets an opportunity to bury the OT winner. Like how awesome would that be to have at Rogers Place? Like everyone can you imagine the pins and needles in that situation with him starting an OT? That would be a little bit more fun to me. Or, your game's tied going in late and he buries one late. Like that to me is that's the storybook where that situation would be unreal to watch.
That would be quite a buzz. You're right too. If he had $9.99 going into overtime against Nashville, and he always starts overtime, that would be pretty cool. Chris G says it'd be great if especially when he burns Morgan Riley again to get point number 1,000. Okay, so Chris threw out another fun topic here. This is in the Nasty Chat, of course, on YouTube. If you're watching there, you can jump in. You guys might roll your eyes and say, Reid, why would you even bring this up? But I do think it's fun to talk about the possibility of 2,000 points for McDavid. If he keeps playing, he's played 657 games. So for him to play over 1,400 or 1,500 isn't outside the realm of possibility. Now I know there's a think, okay, does he reach 33 or 34 and become a 90-point player instead of a 120-point player? But I don't know. I just think that's fun to talk about and Draisaitl said it today. No one in the history of hockey, and I would agree with him, I would say even Lemieux or Gretzky, produces chances the way McDavid does, right? So I think it is kind of fun to see How high can this point total go over the course of his career?
I think there's a good possibility, and the reason why is because of the way he skates. Like it's going to take a lot longer for him to slow down than most players, I think. Like my good buddy Jason Chimera played 1,100 games. Played well into his 30s, and one of the reasons he was able to play for such a long period of time is because he's a fabulous skater. Like he still skates as like he's a young man. So
he's still got wheels, absolute wheels. Still,
it's a joke. We played some stuff. I played a high school game. Thank God we had him we played some high school kids. He went around these high school kids all the time. It was pretty funny. But I think there's a really good possibility that by closer to the end, I'm thinking that he's flirting with 2,000 for sure.
Yeah, it all depends on health, guys, right? Like if he can stay healthy is the big thing. Yeah, and no lockouts. Healthy and no lockouts. That's the other kicker, as we and keep throwing to Ovi here, and that to come discussion. But you look at how much production he lost over that period of time, and it'd be the same thing with McDavid. So if he can avoid lockouts, if he can stay healthy relatively, then I think he does get it, and it'll start to slow down at some point. But Gage, as you said, the way that he's able to produce, the explosiveness that he has as a player, like even if he gets a little bit less explosive, he's still going to be a top 6 guy that's still going to be in the power play, that's still going to put up points. So there's a long road ahead of him here still. And I don't want to say like if what would you put now? Here's maybe switch on it, but what would you guys put the over under for McDavid's total points in his career right now if you had to?
Oof. Oh, that's a good one.
That is a good one.
Oh, I would if I had to do a career over under for McDavid, and I have to set the line so people actually bet on it, right?
Yep.
I would put it at 1920 and a half because Jágr got to 1921.
That's I think I would go 19 and a half. 1900 and a half is where I'd put it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd probably go a little higher. I'd be at like 1950 and a half because you got to do the half.
Because it's 10, like, what is he, 28? He'll be 29 next year. He'll probably play another.
Well, he's turning 29 in January. He's turning 28 in January still.
Okay, 28 in January. Let's just go 10 years, 38. He's still like, I think he's just entering his prime. Like he's now getting that man strength. I'm sure there's a few more 150 point seasons with this guy.
Yeah. It's fun to talk about, and I thought you made a good point too about his ability to skate. Right, that kind of sticks with you. So because didn't Chimera have a 20-goal season when he was 36 or 30? Late in his career, he still had a 20-goal season.
I talked to him about it. He probably doesn't want me talking about it, but he. I think that the year he retired, he was trying to get one more year in, and the Oilers were interested, but they went with who was the guy that kept signing PTOs? He was with Washington. He won
Jason.
Jason.
Yeah, it was who had one pretty good year.
Yeah, he did. So it came down to those two. Too bad. I would have liked to seen Chimmer kind of finish his career off back home, but he's got the silver stick. Unreal career for him.
All right, we are going to talk about OviCast. I know you want to get there. We will get there. Game tonight at 7. Oilers expected to go with the same lineup that beat Vancouver. Barzal is now on long-term injured reserve for the Islanders, so that's a big deletion from their lineup. Barzal last year scored 40 seconds into the game between the Oilers and the Islanders at Rogers Place. Why would I bring that up? Because it was on November 13th, so just a day off, and it was Chris Knoblauch's first game as the Oilers head coach. So, yes, the Islanders get an early goal in his debut. Draisaitl comes through with 4 points. The Oilers got 3 in the third, and they won the game 4-1. Knoblauch, guys, has coached 84 regular season games. He's gone 53, 25, and 16, even with the 500 start this year. That's a 667 points percentage. So as head coach of the Oilers, he's got 2/3 of his points. Now, we also know this is, a good team, a playoff team for the last 5 years. So he's coaching a pretty good roster. But I do want to get your impressions, anything about him or things that he has done that have maybe stood out or have helped a very good team play like a very good team more often than not.
Well, when I look back to that game, I think I went to that game, and I remember a guy beside me saying, "Oh, coach isn't working," and but no, he seemed to be able to adapt to different situations so far, and I'm including this year as well. So, and he always seemed to, for the most part, for a year now, when he's made some of the decisions that probably a lot of hockey fans have questioned, they've all kind of worked out. The way he can take the temperature of the team and know what to do at the right time it's quite impressive, actually, for a guy that really not a lot of coaching experience. But then again, you do say, like, he is coaching a pretty good team, right? Like, I don't know what Woodcroft's, like, I know that his winning percentage was quite high.
It was also quite high.
So,
like, he was above Sather for a good chunk of his career.
I think they're both above the old guys, right? So, part of it is the team you're coaching, but another part is like, again, reading the types of situations. I just look at the sitting of Leon this year, right? Moving guys around in practice, just subtle little things that maybe we didn't see before, and down to the implementation of his goaltenders too. Like, we've seen Pickard start some games that have a lot of people, myself included, scratching their heads at times, but again, they seem to work out.
Woody had a 643 with the Oilers, brought down by his 269 points percentage in the final 13 games that he coached. What about you, Cass? Anything stand out or any observations about Knoblauch?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that stands out for me was his willingness to make some gutsy calls in the playoffs in terms of the roster. Like, that to me really does, because it's like, he stepped into a situation, team heated up, played really well. Don't know, can they take some credit for that? Absolutely they can. The coaching staff can. But at the same time, the players had a lot to do with it. And as Gager said, it's a really good record. But what we've started to see this year, Gager, you also mentioned this again, so I'm just going to be echoing here. But we've seen him make some moves, and in practice where he's tried to send some messages, tried to hold some players accountable. And I say that I think that bodes well, and doing it in a way where he's still remains very even keel to the press, but he quite clearly is sending messages to his players and having conversations probably behind the scenes about why, or not just letting his, letting the practice sheet in the lineup and the practice schedule when it goes up on the board in the room before the practice to speak for him at times to some guys. But I appreciate that he has made some gutsy calls. Again, it's not like he's been here for 10 years, so we still have to see more from that. But thus far, that would be the biggest thing that has stood out to me with Knoblauch.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go back to the Pickard in the playoffs. I know teams have used two goaltenders to get deep into the postseason at times. But I don't know if previous Oilers coaches would have made that move. I still remember Rob and I being astounded for Game 4 against Dallas that McLeod and Perry, after being healthy scratched, came back into the lineup as Leon's wingers, and then like McLeod scored. I think he got the first goal of the game, and they both were awesome. It's like, okay, you're really trusting these guys. And then you guys both mentioned it, but I think we got to mention the benching of Leon earlier this season. I know it was for 2 shifts, but still,
it was
you were explaining to me how the ripples that would send down the bench. So he stood up. He's the one that did it.
As soon as in Cass, I remember you talking about too. As soon as you hear that and like who's up, and that all of a sudden Draisaitl's name isn't included when the coach says it, everyone's like, "What? Wait, are we going 3D? How many D did he call it?"
All right, so Knoblauch, basically a year on the job. He's coached a little more than one regular season's worth of games. This will be number 85. All right, I want to flash back It's a Saturday night. Pretty convincing win for the Oilers. I know Vancouver threatened for a bit, sort of, but I do think Edmonton was the better team most of the night. I want to hire it or fire it, though, here with GCS Construction. Hiring now. Become a part of their great team today by visiting gsconstruction.ca or their page on Indeed.ca. For the past 50 years, the foundation of GS Construction has been built on efficiency, quality, and safety. Take your career to the next level. Join the team at GS Construction. So late in that game, the Canucks scored, in terms of the outcome of the game, a meaningless goal, the old window dressing goal, as I like to call it. But it was a power play goal that meant Vancouver was 1 for 2 on the power play, which drove the Edmonton's PK percentage down even further to 59%. It also meant that despite getting the win, Stuart Skinner stopped 17 out of 20, which is an .850 save percentage. I know they want the win, but it wouldn't have helped them there. And he reacted with a shaking head motion when the puck went in, and then he actually gave the Hockey Night in Canada emphasized it after the game, that he gave his posts a hearty slash with his stick as the game ended and his teammates were coming to celebrate with him. I guess hire it or fire it. I'll start with the goalie. That reaction, after a win. Do you like seeing that frustration or not?
Yeah, I do like it. And here's the reason why. First, it shows that he cares, all right? Whether it be about his own personal stats, allowing a late goal late, trying to make a difference, like you take responsibility on the penalty kill as a goaltender just as much as the 4 guys coming out to kill it. Everyone wants to have good numbers to a point, and maybe sometimes as a goalie you feel like you're on an island at times.
Right.
It's just the way it is. So you accept it. But probably an instance where you thought your guys could have done a better job, and kind of leaving you out there. It sometimes your feathers get ruffled, so to speak. Now, saying that, I like what he did, but what I don't like is a repeat performance like this. Sure, you can show that you're frustrated and things and upset, heat of the moment type of thing. I bet you next day Stuart Skinner was probably, I was just a little hot-headed, but you can't keep showing your guys up like that,
Right.
and you as a goaltender, your job is to stop the puck, right? So, but letting guys know that you care, I think, is a good thing.
Yeah, I got to hire it. I mean, it's a coach kicking the garbage can situation, right? Like where you get 1 to 2 of them a year. You can't do it every time, but every once in a while it's okay. And I understand the frustration. Because, yes, you care more about the win, but you do care about your own stats. You care about your own performance. You care about the team's performance, and giving up a late goal and having a sag late in game is not acceptable. And their penalty kill has not been acceptable. I mean, you could have had a blank game on the penalty kill where you go, the other team goes 0 for 2, which is something that's absolutely crucial for the confidence of this team in this penalty kill long term, to have games where you don't give up anything. And the frustration comes from you bat the puck in the middle of the ice with 4 guys there to Pettersson, who just passes it back door for essentially a tap in, which Stuart Skinner can do nothing about. So of course he's frustrated. Of course he's mad about that. Like it affects him. It affects your family. And I know we all like to think at times that, yes, it's a team sport. Yes, it's about the team. Yes, the team wants to win. But this is also your individual life and career and family you're providing for. And yeah, you're frustrated because your team let you down again on the penalty kill in that moment. And so, yeah, he's frustrated. Again, you can't do it all the time. You can't have that outburst every single game. You can't do it. But if you're a passionate guy, something like that happens and you get frustrated, yeah, you're going to act out on it. Now, I would say that other players do this too, even when teams win. You usually just don't see it, right? You usually just don't see it. Now we see it because the puck goes in and, it's like ISO cam on Stuart Skinner because he's the guy that's right there at the net. Other guys get frustrated in that moment, and maybe they were off camera as well, where you don't necessarily see it or see that frustration. So can't let it happen all the time where you act out like that. But hey, he cares. He's communicating to his penalty killers that this isn't good enough and it's not acceptable. And I'm fine with that because it isn't and it hasn't been. And yes, a great win, but still things to work on. that penalty kill being first and foremost, because you drop percentage again. You went 50% again. It's just not good enough.
I was the reaction when the goal went in didn't surprise me. The slash of the, and look, it wasn't like who was the Boston goalie that really broke his stick several.
Swayman.
Yeah, but that surprised me more because his teammates were in the process of coming to. But I guess maybe he wanted them to see it. Like, okay, guys, like we didn't play. We didn't play a 60-minute game. We played a 59-minute game. Like, we want better stats on the penalty kill. I always think too. The best way to not give up power play goals is don't take penalties.
Yeah.
And just even when I saw Bush going to the box, I was like, why? Like, just quiet it down, get out of the building, try to run straight time.
Yeah.
And I know Vancouver didn't really celebrate the goal. They wanted to get out of there too, but don't give them little thing that they can feel good about at the end of the game. But I mean, it was a good night, but still.
Yeah, that's where I'm sure that's where most of the unhappiness from Stuart Skinner came from, was just the taking the penalty at that point.
Yeah. But nonetheless, 7-3 win. So the offense came to life. Obviously, Connor Brown with a couple of nice goals. They scored a whole bunch of goals in that 4-goal burst in the third period. So back to 500. Hey, they can match their longest winning streak of the season with a win tonight at 2. They've not been able to put together a long run. Okay, let's go to the Ovechkin thing, and then we can touch on a couple league storylines or circle back to some other stuff. So Ovechkin is, I have too many tabs open on my computer, guys. I am bad for that. What is he, 31 behind Gretzky now? And he's playing extremely well and scoring at a pretty good pace. So this is a fun little watch, right? Like I remember I did a show with you guys before the season started, and I did hired or fired for that, and I was like, he's not going to get to Gretzky's total. Like, no way. Yeah, so it's 894 to 863. But, yeah, he keeps firing away. So there's a bit of drama around this. Cass, you've seemed pretty excited to touch on this today. I mean, what do you think? Is it now a foregone conclusion that he does it this year, or what do you think?
Well, it's not absolutely foregone. I mean, he could get cold, but it's hard to see him slipping his clip that much. Like, right, what is he at right now? He's at like a 55 goals because it's 10 goals in 14 games. Like he's absolutely crushing this right now, which is just ridiculous to think that he's found a way to turn it into high gear again. So I don't want to say it's a foregone conclusion, because it's not. He could get hurt, things could happen. But it's certainly, the more we go here, the closer and closer we inch to it. And to me, the reason, guys, I wanted to talk about it and wanted to bring it up is because it's just so fun. Right? Like, it's just going to be an ongoing storyline where the closer he gets, the more and more excited we're going to get about it. And it's just an unbelievable thing to see a guy that just continues to find ways to score goals. His teammates are going to keep feeding him the rock, and the team's playing well right now. And not only that, guys, he's +9. He's doing it 5-on-5 too, not just on the power play, which is unbelievable.
He's the amazing thing about Ovechkin to me is too, and I hope this doesn't jinx him at all, but his ability to stay healthy. That's the one thing. Like, he's rarely injured. He seems to get injured around that All-Star break because he doesn't want to go, but that's the only time that you find him having some ailments and things like that. But yeah, I'm looking really forward to this. Probably around, if this keeps going, we're looking at middle of January, where we're kind of, all eyes are going to be on the Washington Capitals to see what if he scores that game. It's like, even when I watched a bit of a Capitals game the other day, and he had the puck and he could have shot and he passed it. They scored, but I'm like, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. It's pretty funny, but man, the 20% shooting percentage, 10 goals. He's 2 off the league lead.
Yeah,
it's crazy what this guy has accomplished in his career. I don't know. Like, do you think does he finish out the contract, or does he just wait till he's done and then
gets the record and then
fades off into the sunset?
Yeah, that would be something if he just got the goal and then just retired mid game. Yeah. Remember? Do you guys remember John Kruk, that guy that played for the Phillies?
Yeah.
He wanted, I think by this time he was with the White Sox, and I remember he was on Letterman shortly after he retired, and he got a hit, got to first, and a pinch runner came in, and he just left. He wanted to go out on a hit. But
Nice.
anyway, but you mentioned the shoot, and now this is the fun part. Now you can split hairs with all these 20% shooting percentage, even for him, is high.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, he's still getting power play goals. He has 2 this year out of the 10, and that's what I marvel at. And I know like you guys had a great discussion. I wasn't doing the show that day, but about the Oilers' power play. And I think one of you guys brought up, well, like you can't go away from what works. Like everybody knows what Ovechkin is doing on the power play, and he still has guys that can give him the puck and he can still score. I know any great goal scorer, of course, you go to the net and you score on rebounds and winning battles and stuff like that. But you kind of know what his strength is, and 20 years into his career, no one's really figured out, even now that he's 39, no one's really figured out how to limit that strength.
Yeah, it's I marvel at it. I mean, usually that's kind of the first thing to go is the scoring ability, right? But he just seems to it's never dropped off for him.
Somebody in the nasty chat, sorry, I lost the message now, but somebody said, Penner's Pancakes, no one is touching Wayne Gretzky's shorthanded goal record, which I think is a safe assumption. You gotta love Oilers fans. Well, he may beat Gretzky.
Yeah.
Wayne Gretzky had 73 shorthanded goals to lead the NHL. Mark Messier had 63, and Steve Yzerman had 50. Mario Lemieux had 49. I never would have guessed the two guys tied for fifth. It's a three-way tie for fifth. Curry had 39. This is career shorthanded goals. Cass is like, is this what he does all the time? He just picks random stuff to talk about. Butch Goring had 39, and Dave Poulin had 39 shorthanded goals. Remember him?
Yeah.
Marchand's the active leader with 36.
That's a lot. Even Marchand's 36. Like, that's a lot of shorthanded goals. That's a lot of shorthanded goals. Like, that's 2 to 3. Well, how many years has Marchand played now? Right, he's averaging like 4 a year, 4 shorties a year, 5 shorties a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is nuts. Like, if you think about it, like that's a lot of shorthanded goals. Yeah, I mean, no one probably is going to touch that. Maybe they will, but and even think now, like modern, where it's like, well, typically your role players are the guys playing on the penalty kill as opposed to your superstars, where that's their time to take a little bit of a break and not get injured, not have a puck go off their foot blocking a shot. Like, it's just the game has changed that way, where it's just very unlikely that someone touches that. That being said, up until a couple of years ago, we probably were still looking at Alex Ovechkin going, I don't know if he'll actually get there. He's going to slow down at some point. And here we are. Chris G in on the nasty chat asking me, Matt, did you ever have a hat trick? No, I did not. But I had 2 and a post on Carey Price and Hockey Night in Canada. So I was close. Just about. Yeah. About, Chris G. I almost had it. Did not. I don't know what I would have done in Montreal. I probably would have just left. That would have been my walk-off moment. I would have just scored the goal, not even do the flyby by the bench, just grab the puck and get off the ice. Like, just leave. Just go to the dressing room. I'm good. I'm done. That's probably what I would have done.
I'm just going to Marchand. He's had 5 shorthanded goals in a season a couple of times. He's had a couple of years with 0, one of which was his rookie season, so I don't know if he would have been killing then. He only played 20 games. So, yeah, this is a bit of a rabbit hole discussion here. But yeah, so you got to remember too, like how often like Gretzky was used as a penalty killer.
Yeah,
I mean, Woodcroft would use McDavid or Draisaitl. I think Draisaitl would still go out 3-on-5 even with Knoblauch to try to win the faceoff.
Yeah, faceoffs and off usually. Right.
Yeah,
I remember Mike Modano was talking about when Hitchcock took over. I'd be interested to see how many shorties he had, but. He said, I want you to kill penalties. And Madonna's like, what? I don't know how to kill penalties. He goes, I'm not blocking shots. And Hitchcock said, look, no D-man is going to hit you in the shin pads. Like, go out there in the shooting lane. They're not going to do it because they know if it does hit your shin pad and it comes out, there's no way they're catching you. So don't worry about it. If you're in the shooting lane, they're not going to shoot, buddy. I guess that's the only reason he was
Modano had 29 shorthanded goals. Pretty good. And he was an awesome skater. Remember that time he crashed into the boards and he's like, it almost looked like his neck his head got totally
like Gumby.
pushed. Yeah. and you just got up. You're like, oh, like
It's okay.
Yeah, I guess the worse it looks, sometimes it's the better the result might be. All right, let's hit on a couple other things here before we go at 1 o'clock, and Hernan and Gage are going to take over. We should touch on the Winnipeg Jets because they are 14-1. And we're going to have Huss on my show this afternoon because, let's face it, Winnipeg is the center of Canadian sports right now. They're in the Grey Cup for the 5th consecutive years, and the Jets are 14-1. I got to hand it to, now we're a long way from the postseason, but my colleague Jay Milne looks good right now because he picked the Jets to win the Stanley Cup. And I hung out with a couple buddies last night for Monday Night Football, and one friend was like, are the Jets 14-1? Like, he's like, when did they get that good? I said, look, here's the thing. They were 4th overall last year. They were the best Canadian team in the NHL, but each of the last 2 years, they've kind of had this, well, not kind of, they've had this first-round playoff disappointment, which sort of affects how they're perceived. Like, I'm not saying I saw 14-1, but I mean, it's a solid team. They're playing the Rangers tonight, so I'm sure
That'll be good.
That'll be good. Maybe the most attention a team from Winnipeg has ever gotten in New York. But I mean, look at that line. I mean, their fourth line is Morgan Barron, Kupari, and Alafalo. Like, that's still a pretty good fourth line.
They're a really good fourth line. Yeah. Well, they're deep. They're deep. I mean, one of the questions you had coming into the season for the Winnipeg Jets was, did they do enough? Right? Because they basically ran it back. Like, there weren't a lot of wholesale changes to the Winnipeg Jets, and you're kind of like, okay, well, it's kind of going to be the same thing. And I think you're absolutely right, Reid, in that part of it is that they didn't have success in the playoffs. And so maybe we wrote them off a little bit more than we should, thinking they were going to be a good team, probably a playoff team, but that they, weren't going to be dominant. And boy, have they been dominant thus far. Could be the fastest team if they win tonight to 15 wins ever in the history of the game, which is a pretty crazy accomplishment if they can find a way to pull it off. Now, going to be difficult, as you said, against New York, who's also a very good team in the East. But guys, they are deep, as you said, like that fourth line. Anytime Iafalo's on your fourth line, you're kind of like, well, it's a pretty good player to have on your fourth line. And they can just roll. They can roll those guys. Like, and they have players that kind of do it all. They have the goal scorers like Kyle Connor, but it's like they have, they can beat you so many different ways. I think that's what's impressed me this season is they have won in a lot of different ways. It's not the same thing every single time. It's not like just they rely on their power play. It's like, no, they can beat you 5-5. They can beat you in a physical game. They can beat you in a tight game. They have a great mobile group of defensemen with, that Norris quality defenseman helming it in Morrissey. Like, they have a really good team. And I mean, they're just stomping teams right now. It's been fun to watch.
Yeah, no, just looking through their lineup. And like you said, Cass, they've been doing it in multiple different ways. But I think one of the key things looking from last year and when we were talking to, I think, Sarah Oleski, was the fact that their power play has awoken, right? Like, it's definitely a weapon, more of a weapon for them this year than it was last year. And still, they were one of the top teams in the league, right? So, they're just complete. And I think they have some players like that Kyle Connor. You were talking about sticks and how guys can shoot the puck better. That's the case. The one piece in Kyle Connor's hands is like Picasso with a paintbrush. Like, he shoots the puck differently than everyone else. Like, where he is, where the puck is in his body. He just can get it off so fast and with such velocity. For an unassuming Nintendo 64 skinny player looking guy, it's amazing.
I've never heard that reference to body type before.
Well, doesn't he look like
he's an N64 style player?
Yeah.
So what would the pixelated guys be?
The medium guy and the big fat guy? Like,
and the fat
that was
guy, like some old school
and the
game.
fat guy had a bomb, and the little skinny guy could skate around real fast. But he skates around real fast and shoots like the big fat guy.
That's the scouting report. Joaquin Gage, the scout.
Why I'm not a scout.
Yeah. Someone was asking if you're on TV tonight.
Yes, I am.
Are you going tonight, Cass? Or you're watching from home?
No, I'm night off tonight. It's been a busy couple of weeks in the Kassian household, so I'm off of the pre and post tonight, and we'll be back at it later this week. So one more, just a lot of family stuff going on, and then we'll be back at it. So not at the rink tonight.
All right, just to wind it down here, I got to Cass. This is I don't know, Cass. Do you follow the F1 like Gager does?
Not as diligently as he does. I'm still chasing him. I didn't have a great week in my fantasy pool, but not as great. No, I'm not like I enjoy it. I'll throw it on. I like watching the highlights, but
He's
not all about it.
So last night, Monday Night Football, there's a group of sort of buddies that if whoever can go, as this has been going on almost 30 years probably. And so it was a smaller group last night. So that it was my buddy and his wife and another guy, and the two guys are really into F1, and I just get stuff from osmosis through Gager. So they're talking about stuff, and I just kind of would just intelligently nod and then just every once in a while just say a driver's name, like, oh yes, Verstappen, yes, they kind of nod, oh yeah, like Reid knows, and then just like, oh Hamilton, and I'm kind of like just leaning back, like I got a pipe, my rocking chair, oh yes, chicane, yes, and they're like, oh, you watched the race, Reid, and I'm just like, no, I didn't, but I'm just like, yes, got my pipe, blowing for smoke rings, like, oh yes, well again Verstappen, So here's a question though, I asked this to the one guy. You need a driver. All the cars are the same. You need a driver to win the race and save humanity. Any point in history. I gave the guy Hamilton or Schumacher because Schumacher was the wins leader for a long time. I don't know if you were following it as closely there. But what's your answer?
In the same equipment right now?
All the cars are the same.
Is it okay? All the cars are the same.
They're all 1977 Toyota Corollas.
I would have to say after I was a complete psychopath, I actually watched basically the entire race with Max Verstappen's helmet cam, just because it was raining. It was one of the most incredible sporting performances in any sport that we've seen. So I'm going to go with Max right now, just from what I witnessed in my psychopathicdom watching a helmet cam on an F1 race.
You watched the whole race through the helmet
Well, it
cam.
was on. Like I was doing work, but I had it on another screen, so I kept watching. I watched a good.
So do they do this through an app where you can pick your own camera?
Yeah. So with the F1 app, you can. It breaks down everything. So I can actually go to any individual driver and go to the camera in their car, and also listen to their conversations to the pit wall and back.
So, okay, and how do you guys do the fantasy pool? Is it your driver's points become your points, or is there more to it than that?
So we have two teams of 5 drivers, and there's different ways that you gain points from, different races. There's points for where you finish in qualifying and in the race.
And Cass, your team is doing well or not well?
I'm good. Yeah, I had a big early lead in the season, and Gager kind of slowly chipped away at it and surpassed with one of his teams. So he's team one, or one of his teams is in first, and I'm in second and third. So right there. And I think are you fifth? Your second team, Gager, I think. So you're kind of right there. So I'm actually fourth
now. I moved ahead of
fourth now.
Yeah,
there you go. So surpassed the Wanek. Yeah. So it's kind of me and Gager are the runaways right now, but it'll be a battle for that top spot as well as Constructors Championship.
Are there mids? Can you do swaps mid season, or are you stuck with the guys?
Every race you can swap guys, but you can only swap a certain amount, or else you take point penalties.
Point penalties.
Quite technical.
Yeah.
And is this
I didn't get to answer my question.
Next year.
Okay.
I didn't get the answer to the question, so I want to do it. Which driver would I pick?
Right, sorry.
No, all good. But I'm gonna think outside the box here, and I'm going with Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro from the movie Ronin. Because
it was a Corolla in that, wasn't it? Or is it a Beamer?
It may have been, or something like that. So you give me one of those cars. I don't know if you've ever seen that car chase. Probably the best car chase of all time in a movie. And how can you not pick him? So I'm going with Robert De Niro in the movie Ronin. That's awesome. My pick to save humanity.
That is a good.
I'd have to watch that again, but I remember it did have a good car chase.
Steve McQueen has a good one too.
Was it in Bullet?
Yeah.
Might have been in Bullet.
Yeah.
Obviously, the French Connection has a good one. And, okay. Well, that's a subject for another day. I'm going back to my Blockbuster days, digging out car chase movies. Cass, great to see you. Enjoy your evening, and I'm doing this show again on Thursday, so I'll talk to you then, if not sooner.
Sounds good, boys.
And, of course, Gager is sticking around for EST Afternoons with the one and only Hernan Salas. I will be back at 1 o'clock for the Reid Wilkins Show with Jay Milne. All right, that's been Two Guys and a Goalie, presented by GS Construction. Back in a couple minutes with more Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton sports.